Today I plan to talk about two books. I had originally planned to cover each one in a separate video, but discovered that I could really just make this easier by combining the two. Each one was going to be really short anyways, so I figured why not. The first book is Exile. This is the second book in the Drizzt series. And the other one would be Sojourn. I think that's how you pronounce it, I don't know actually. I've always pronounced it Sojourn, which is the third book in the Legend of Drizzt series. If you have not read the first book, Homeland, in the Legend of Drizzt series, this won't really make any sense to you, unless you've seen my review over this book too, which I have up, which you can go find. Maybe I'll put a link in. But these two books, these three books, make up the Legend of Drizzt Trilogy. 1, 2, and 3. This is all his origin story, okay? And I explained how the whole 12 books thing in the last video about this one, so I'm not going to go over that again. But these two complete the first trilogy of books. So first I'd like to talk about Exile. Most people consider this, out of that trilogy of 3 books, to be the best one in the trilogy. Personally, this is my least favorite of the trilogy, but that's just me. Most people consider this trilogy to be a great trilogy. All the books are good. I agree with that completely. I think this is the best trilogy. These are the best 3 books out of the whole Drizzt series of 12 so-on books. Not much to say about this, really. I honestly have almost no negatives to say about this at all. I have never really heard any negative criticism for this book, other than that some people found it boring, which is really, that can be a criticism to just about anything, honestly. I personally just didn't care for it as much as the first one, but that doesn't mean it wasn't good. I still thought this was a very nice one. It is the story about, without trying to give any spoilers, after Drizzt leaves the city in the first one, the evil Dark Elf city, it's the story about how Drizzt is living alone in the Underdark, how he's surviving, and he's learning about himself, who he really is, internal conflicts, wonderful things like that. And that is honestly about all I have to say about this book. Not much. Great book, though. Scale of 1 to 10, probably an 8 out of 10. Good book, great fantasy book, a great continuation to the first one. The third one, Sojourn, remains to be my favorite book out of all of the Drizzt books ever written. I honestly read it so long ago I can't really tell you why. I just remember loving it. This is the story of when Drizzt first comes to the surface. He's gotten out of the Underdark, which is the large underground caverns that run underneath the world, where it's always dark because it's underground. He's finally gotten up to the surface. He sees the sun, all these other beautiful things. He meets people. Lovely stuff. This is absolutely, in my opinion, the best one, and I would highly recommend it to anyone. This one honestly gets about a 9.5 out of 10 for me. I have heard most people say this is the worst of the 3, so I suppose my tastes are backwards in that sense, considering my least favorite is most people's favorite, and my favorite is most people's least favorite. But this one is nice. Drizzt comes to the surface, he interacts with humans, other races, and it begins to become a struggle, a story about his struggle of fitting in with people, but he's different. He can't speak to anyone yet, but they see him and they see a Dark Elf and they think all Dark Elves are evil, kill that thing. And he's thinking, I'm not evil just because I'm a Dark Elf. And that's really where that conflict takes off, and we'll see that conflict run through the next 9 or so books for the rest of the series, even beyond the 9 books. It's always going to be a conflict from now on for Drizzt, though it lessens in the later books, trying to get people to accept him for who he is and not how he looks. And it's a great book, though. Like I said, 9.5 out of 10. I would definitely recommend purchasing all 3 of these as a set. I just bought each one individually because when I began purchasing them, only these 2 had came out, so I was purchasing along with the releases, so unfortunately I didn't buy them all together as a set. I think you can, though. I believe I've seen some, but I'm not sure. But this is where to start with these 3. You want to learn about the origins of Drizzt, you can start with these 3. The best thing of all, I think, about this trilogy is you can read this at any time you want. You don't even have to start with this if you don't want to. You can start in book number 4. You can start on the trilogy that comes after that. Book number 7, I think, is the next trilogy, and after that it's 10. There are about 4 trilogies or so, I think. This one can be read anywhere you want, because it's just an origin story. It's not important to the plots of any of the following books, so you don't even have to start with this one if you don't want to. I would recommend you do. That's how I started it myself, and I thought these were 3 of the best books in the whole series, so I liked starting with them. It was a nice precursor to learn about the character of Drizzt, and overall just a very nice trilogy. I am very impressed with the author and his writing, and that's about all I have to say about these books. Great read. I would suggest picking them up, and thank you very much.